In this section, I'm going to show you how to do crypto arbitrage. Arbitrage is the ability to buy cheap on one market and sell it for more expensive on another market. Beautiful thing about crypto is that there's no one exchange that determines price discovery. So you can technically buy low on one exchange and then sell it for higher on another. The only risk with that is you just have to make sure that the withdrawal time and processing from the exchange is fast enough and that the price doesn't change on you in the transition period. Now, generally, I find the times that have the best arbitrage opportunity are periods of great volatility. So when a particular altcoin or Bitcoin is spiking up in price or dumping, you can often be able to catch that and sell for different prices from one exchange to another. And then you could also do this with futures contracts as well. Futures generally have a different price over the spot markets. And when the spot markets are either in a strong bull trend or bear trend, futures contracts will often get exaggerated. And then another way to take advantage of arbitrage is if you trade on an exchange that is the least dominant exchange and you watch exchanges that are market movers like the Chinese exchanges, for example, you can actually see where the market is going ahead of time. So oftentimes, if there's a massive dump in China, sometimes you can get an entire minute lead time to be able to short and know where the market's going ahead of time. So that's also another way of doing arbitrage. So for Bitcoin arbitrage, there's all kinds of, as you can see here, there's all kinds of various different exchanges with different prices. This is called the Arbitrage Matrix over on Coinigy. It's an app. And as you can see here, there's some exchanges, they're selling as high as $1,500. And there's other ones that are selling as low as $9.84. Now, the thing with dollar arbitrage or fiat arbitrage is that in order to close the loop, you need to be able to deposit coins on one exchange from your bank. So that generally takes a process. It's not instant. It can take a few days and it has some fees. And then you buy the cheap coins there and you can send them over. And sending them over in another exchange is the easy part and selling it. But then you have to withdraw into your bank account to be able to take advantage of that and then do it all over again, right? So it's not instant. There's another way that you can do it. You could basically have a mix of cash and Bitcoin on two different exchanges at the same time. And so if you see a price discrepancy, you could immediately buy on the cheaper exchange and then sell on the more expensive exchange. So that would be more of like an instant type of arbitrage. And then one exchange that I've discovered that has a couple of markets in it, fiat markets, is Quadriga CX, right? As you can see here, they have the Canadian dollar, but they also have the markets in the US dollar, right? Now, if I were to look at what 1,000 US dollars are, that's equivalent to 1311 Canadian. So let's say I were to set an order here and buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, then I could arbitrage that and set an order here. Actually, I could even sell directly right now, and there's a slight price difference. It's not huge, so it probably wouldn't be worth your time. But if you were to stack an order over here, you'd be able to arbitrage this. Now, the spread is fairly tight right now between these, but oftentimes I found on this exchange when there's a lot of volatility and price movement, the spread will widen between these two. So you could actually just arbitrage right here on this exchange. And I'm sure there are other exchanges that you can find the same ability to do that. An easier way to arbitrage between exchanges is just to do it with altcoins, right? Because altcoins, you don't have to go through the banking system at all. You're just trading a Bitcoin to crypto. And so there are various different pairings with altcoins. If you were to look at Poloniex, you have all these various different Bitcoin markets. So as you can see here, some people, what they do is they create bots to find arbitrage opportunities on the exchange. So you could trade against Ethereum as your base currency, or Monero, and also USDT, which is kind of pegged to the US dollar. So some people, what they'll do is when the markets are volatile, they have bots that'll trade all these markets simultaneously, and they'll just kind of calculate the discrepancies between each of these. And also trading altcoins, it's a lot easier just to send it over to another exchange. One of my favorite forms of arbitrage is between futures contracts and the spot markets, especially when things get exaggerated. So as you can see here, the top price went all the way up to 1144, right? This is the high. And the low went all the way down to 753. Now, if I were to look at the BitMEX futures contracts, instead of 1144, it really went exaggerated. It actually went about over $150 over spot markets, went all the way up to 1317. So you could short this, even if it's just a hedge and you don't use any leverage, or you use low leverage, right? There's still a lot of wiggle room. It still has to rise up about over $150 before it even hits the place where you shorted. So you can see that it got really exaggerated. And then when it dumped, instead of hitting 750, it went all the way down to 715, right? So again, exaggerated on the upside and exaggerated on the downside. And this often happens with futures contracts. It's called overexuberant bullishness, and the premium will go up really, really high. So generally, this is a really good opportunity to have a quick arbitrage hedge and use one-to-one leverage or low leverage just to minimize downside. Obviously, if you use really, really high leverage, then you could get liquidated. On the flip side, though, if you see this premium and you're watching the Chinese charts and you notice a huge dump that's happening, you could actually use higher leverage. You could go up to 10 or 20x and be able to make a lot of money on the downside. So that's another way that you can arbitrage. All right, so I'll see you in the next section.